Yo, what's going on guys, HyperX here, and today I want to talk about Starfield, because of course yesterday was Xbox's E3 press conference, and during that, after waiting quite some time, we finally got our first look, admittedly only a teaser, no sort of extended gameplay, but we did still get our first look at Starfield, because of course, now that Microsoft has acquired Bethesda Studios, they had a sort of merged E3, we got to look at Bethesda titles, Xbox titles, there's plenty more stuff I'll be talking about on the channel, but in this video, I thought today I would sort of wrap up what we currently have on Starfield, which admittedly isn't a great deal right now. It is still pretty vague. I think Bethesda kind of want to sort of going through this trailer with a fine tooth comb to try and sort of pick out ideas, but there are still a few things from some recent interviews, a few things like that can kind of sort of help paint the picture a little better. So if you're wondering what to expect from this title, then hopefully this can at least shed a bit of light for you. So if you do enjoy this, a like would be super appreciated. If this is a game that you are looking forward to, definitely let me know. But to begin with, what exactly is Starfield? Well, first things first, before we even talk about the story, Starfield itself is actually the first new universe in 25 years from Bethesda Game Studios. Of course, they've worked on numerous different titles. I'm sure you're very familiar with things like Skyrim, Fallout, stuff like that. And of course, over the years, they have released multiple installments in those, kind of just sort of building on their existing universes. But this is the first new universe in 25 years. It's a next generation role-playing game set amongst the stars. You can create any character that you want, and you can supposedly explore with unparalleled freedom as you embark on an epic journey to answer humanity's greatest mystery. Now, quite how that unparalleled freedom will take place will of course remain to be seen. I feel like often when games are announced, they kind of love to sort of say, go wherever you want, but often it ends up being like, go wherever you want within reason. Either way, it still sounds pretty cool. I mean, they are of course known for their big, expansive open world, so I do imagine that paired with the fact they're using next generation hardware will at least make for some pretty huge, expansive areas, expansive environments to explore. The release date for this is slated for next year, November the 11th, so it is still quite some time away, but we do now have a release date, we have something you can put in your calendar, so that's something to look forward to. But what about the story? Well, first things first, in an interview with The Telegraph, Todd Howard spoke about the Constellation, which is basically this last group of space explorers. Their activities are sort of like NASA meets Indiana Jones meets the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. That's kind of how Todd Howard explained it. He said the Constellation is one of multiple factions within the game, and of course if you play things like Fallout and Elder Scrolls, you kind of expect that, you know, there's multiple factions. It's kind of what they do. But the Constellation is the main one that you will become a part of, and although players will encounter and can align with different groups as Starfield's sort of role-playing narrative moves on, the player is in a timeline about 300 years ahead of ours. Outside of that, both Todd Howard and Bethesda aren't really saying much more. They kind of, again, want people just to sort of watch the trailer and try and infer things, so it definitely sounds like, at least on the narrative front, they are keeping things pretty close to their chest. So what else do we know? Well, Starfield will still have Bethesda's DNA, but it's also going to have a lot of new systems. There was another interview with Todd Howard, this time from Eurogamer, and when he was asked whether the game would be a quote-unquote Bethesda Game Studios game, in the same way that sort of Elder Scrolls and Fallout are, he replied by saying, I don't really want to say yes or no, because I don't really know what that means to you or whoever is going to read that. He said it's different, but if you sit down and you play it, you would instantly recognize that it is still something that Bethesda have made. He said, if that kind of makes sense. So it does still have their DNA, it does still have the things they like. However, he did say the game has got a lot of new systems that we'll be thinking about for a while that sort of fit this kind of gameplay really well. So again, pretty vague, and you know, for those of you that are long-time Bethesda fans, it's fair to say there'll definitely be elements in here that you will be familiar with, things that you'll be able to connect with, but don't necessarily just sort of assume it's going to be a typical Bethesda game just in space. It seems like they do want to sort of take this in a slightly different direction. Additionally, the game itself has actually been in development for quite some time. Of course, back in 2018, Todd Howard said that the project had moved out of pre-production and was currently in a playable state internally, and the original teaser was shown at E3 2018 was kind of mostly designed just to sort of give us a sense of the game's atmosphere. However, in an interview with The Guardian, Todd Howard then went on to say that they've actually been talking about this game for a decade. They said they started putting things on paper 5 or 6 years ago, and active development was from when they finished Fallout 4, so 2.5, 3 years. So it's definitely been building for quite some time. Additionally, space travel is, fair to say, going to be a pretty integral part of this game, and he said that space travel in Starfield is sort of dangerous like flight in the 40s. During E3 2019, Todd Howard spoke with Elon Musk, and he divulged that in Starfield, space travel probably won't be that sort of utopian Star Trek-like ordinary affair that is sort of often seen as this like idyllic, fun, sort of almost touristy-like thing. However, he said instead, traveling in space in our game, I want to say it's like sort of Flight in the 40s, like it's dangerous. It's still dangerous to go and explore, even though lots of people do it. Additionally, Starfield shouldn't be confused with a rocket engineering sim. He did say that we do still need to gamify this game, so it's not as punishing as actual space travel. So don't necessarily sort of think of it in the light of like, oh, it's going to be punishingly difficult, and if you don't necessarily min-max every single aspect of your ship, you're going to die. But at the same time, don't think it's just going to be press A to launch into space, fly through freely. I mean, that's kind of what he's implying. Now, outside of that, the other big question was whether this was going to be an Xbox-only game, because recently Microsoft have acquired Bethesda Studios. However, it is worth noting that while the studio is honouring the exclusivity commitments to PlayStation for games such as Deathloop and Ghostwire Tokyo, from Sunday, from this E3 presentation, it's pretty clear that Starfield, at least, is just going to be for Windows PC and Xbox Series X. Seemingly, unless they change their minds later on, it's not going to be coming to PlayStation 5, which of course, you know, is a shame, because ultimately playing the game wherever you want is better. But it's also fair to say that if Microsoft went out of their way to purchase the entire studio, they're definitely going to want some big exclusive for their platform. So as far as we're aware, right now, as of E3, as of this Sunday, it does seem like if you want to play Starfield, you're either going to have to be on PC or an Xbox. And for the most part, that's pretty much it. That's all we currently have on the game so far. That's sort of a little bit about the story, a little bit about how the sort of DNA will shape the game, and sort of a bit on space travel. As and when we do find out more, I will definitely keep you guys posted, because it's definitely a game that, you know, I want to sort of explore. I want to sort of see what they do, what their take is on space travel and things like that. So I'm excited to learn more over the next sort of year or so. And yeah, as and when we find out more, I'll let you guys know. But for the time being, thanks for watching, and keep it locked. We've got plenty more E3 coverage coming your way this week. If you want to catch more from us at HyperX Gaming, don't forget you can catch the guys TwoSixNine and Paradise Central streaming over on Twitch weekdays, playing a variety of games. If you guys want to jump in, tune in, watch, and even join in, then make sure you check them out. The links to those are in the description box down below, and of course you can join the Discord to get involved in all of the discussions.